about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist. Am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was Great Sounds of Watson without sign on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. Easy, you're always better at introductions more than me. Who do we have with us on the program today?
First, we get into DeLorean. We throw that son of a gun to 88 miles per hour, and we jump back in time. We're going back in time to a moment of the rock lottery. There I sit speaking with Kelly Cansier, and she starts talking about Dustin. And I go, I'm right here. She goes, no, other Dustin. And then I'm talking to Sarah Dunn, and she says, Dustin. And I said, I'm right here. She said, no other Dustin. So then I'm there for a performance. I look over of this towering man with this gigantic, glorious beard, looks down upon me and goes, you must be other Dustin. I said, I was going to say the same thing about you. And that's when I first met this incredible person. So I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't need any accidents. But mentally, I want you to put your hands together for the fantastic, the incredible, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, most saxist with the maxist. Dustin Kriedler is in the building. Welcome. Benvenuto.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Nice.
And you get the obligatory I'll answer to that, but it's actually Kreidler. It sounds better if you're shouting it in German. So
yes. Well, Kreidler.
Exactly.
I wanted to take a little bit of the harsh off just in case.
Fair.
We're very harsh times. I wanted to give you the softer.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Times are great, aren't they?
I mean, for people who look like us generally, but not us.
Yeah, exactly. And I will confirm that is the story of how I met other Dustin.
Okay.
My favorite was getting a text from someone like literally mid-conversation and like going back and forth 2 or 3 times and finally being like, do you mean me? Like, oh, sorry, that was for other Dustin. I was like, got it.
Well, it's so rare. We had Dustin Diamond, which we don't speak about, and we had Dustin Wynn from 21 Jump Street.
You don't speak about Screech?
Yeah.
No, man.
Yeah, Diamond was Screech.
Yeah, Diamond was Screech. Yeah. We don't speak about Screech. Screech had a hard life. He had a hard
Dustin
life.
Hoffman, which is probably the reason we're all named Dustin.
Yeah, actually, I'm named Dustin because of the Kansas song, Dust in the Wind.
Yeah, well, that joke always gets made about me, so we are still aligned with that one.
There you go.
And then we had Dustin Pedroia.
But Dustin Pedroia, there you go.
Yep.
So it's few and far between that you would meet one that would actually be in your social circle. And It shows how incredibly big and small this scene is, because not only are you in this social networking circle, but you are, a professional musician and on your very aspect of it as well. You get paid to be a musician. You might not get paid well to be a musician, but you get paid to be a musician. And that makes you a professional musician.
Sure.
Just being real with you. And that's a whole nother avenue of the industry that a lot of people don't know about. There's a lot of musicians that are out there that, haven't seen themselves on, we'll say, the popular streaming site or, those different type of aspects. And they think that that's the only successful way to be a musician. But being a musician is just about making music. And if you can make a little bit of money making music, that's a wonderful thing. How did you get into the path of being the saxophone for hire?
Saxophone and guitar and banjo and occasionally a little bit of keyboards, and oh god, we're all in trouble if the flute comes out. Way back in the day, you got back into the DeLorean before. We're going to go all the way back to whatever freaking year I was in 6th grade.
Gotcha.
And there were about 45 of us who wanted to play saxophone and no one who wanted to play French horn. And I was like the third to last one going, I want to play saxophone. And like, wouldn't you rather play this? And I stuck to my guns, said, nope, I want to play sax. It took me years to realize, I think because of Zoot from the Muppet Show.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's who I wanted to be, man. That cool cat. Absolutely. And then years later, got out of high school, and there were literally 2 of us from that elementary school crew that were still playing at all. went to college to study music industry at Syracuse, and you had to have a declared instrument. So I played saxophone. I studied classical saxophone in college.
Oh,
Um, if anyone ever wants to, there's a okay Spotify playlist, but I've got a couple of vinyl albums of it. If anyone wants to sit there going, what is this? Some of it's great, a lot of it's not. Most of the really, 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 really good composers people can name were dead before it even got invented. So we don't have a ton of
right.
recognizable repertoire, as it were. Somewhere in there, like junior high or high school, I picked up guitar, self-taught. My aunt passed along a nylon string classical guitar.
Nice.
So was teaching myself out of Mel Bay books and whatnot. Um, did it long enough that my parents were like, all right, he's probably going to stick with this. Picked up a guitar at the mall. You know it's quality when it's coming from the music store at the mall.
You got it from the music store at the mall? I was always jealous of the people who got it from the music store at the mall because I always could just window shop and cry.
It turns out that was a cardboard piece of crap.
I mean,
but it was
probably.
a starting point. It was a starting point. It was good. In high school, was working various, summer jobs and whatnot, saved up, bought my first true love in a guitar. I got a Gibson Les Paul Standard before the prices have since like tripled or quadrupled since those days. Plus, I'm old, so the price point comparison's depressing now. But so got out of college, and like through college, it was like all like the wind ensemble and the jazz ensemble. I think I played with a ska band once in college. Like went to a rehearsal. Really had no idea what I was doing. Like to that point, studying classical, you're playing the notes. They
Right.
put the music in front of you, you play the music. We'd go to jazz ensemble. They're like, take a solo. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And we did like improvisation classes. And I spent the whole time going, I don't know what that means.
Right.
It didn't click at all. But got out and was at a different local music store and saw a sign up. A local-ish ska band was looking for a sax player. And I said, I would like to go try out for that.
Right.
A couple of years earlier is when Boss Tones and No Doubt had hit big. And then a little
Nice.
bit later, a friend was over the summer at a summer job. A friend was playing, he had a mixtape. And the song that I remember clearest is he had Bad Manners version of Sally Brown on it.
Wow.
And that was one of those like that just stuck. I was like, what is this? He goes, oh, it's kind of gave me the walk down the garden path of, the history of it and the music, and just fell in love. Like that's like just I will always come back to that music. There's a bunch of genres I'm super into, and they are disparate and they are weird. And when I've got the iPhone or the iTunes on shuffle, most people get uncomfortable going from Viking metal to ska to classical saxophone when I'm in a mood to
It's fine. It's
50s
fine.
bebop back around to ska. Like, but so I tried out with this band, made it in. They were called the Schematics out of New Paltz, New York.
Okay.
Not spelled Ska-matics.
Right. I feel like that's
correctly.
a missed opportunity. That's a.
In our heads, we were more of a. It was like the Cherry Poppin' Daddies model of it's a swing band that also plays ska, not a ska band.
Right.
So I was with them for a couple of years, but then for work ended up moving down to New Jersey. I should say I'm from downstate New York, what I thought was upstate because we were north of the Bronx, but it was downstate. And career-wise, for about a decade, maybe decade and a half, I was working out of Manhattan.
Okay.
So moved from downstate New York to New Jersey, and one of the bands I'd fallen in love with early on was Inspector 7.
Yes.
And this was the really good old days where you'd have your personal email address inside your CD.
Yep.
So I emailed the lead singer at his AOL account, which I hope he still has. It was actually a great
Good times.
Like, I don't know if that still exists, but I hope he still has it. And said, yeah, I'm moving into the state. I love you guys. I'd love to come down and play. And got the email back saying, well, we're in the middle of breaking up, or we're about to do a whole bunch of farewell shows. Come on down. And come to learn that as part of their evolution, and I hadn't necessarily picked this up from the CDs, they used to roll with like 5-6 horn players, like all sorts of horns. And at that point, they had, I think, just trumpet and tenor. So someone being like, I want to come play horns, they're like, yeah, thicken it up. That'd be great. hit it off, joined them, played those farewell shows. It was awesome. Um, they did break up. They turned the shell of that band turned into two other bands, Hub City Stompers, who are still around.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come up later in the show spots. They're going to be here in Wallingford on March 15th.
Nice.
But then me and that tenor player, he started a band, but I was in on it real early. A trip, more or less a Hawkwind tribute band,
Okay.
space rock.
Nice.
ZZ Top meets Lost in Space.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and for the trivia minded out there, Hawkwind was the band Lemmy was in before he got kicked out for doing too much speed, causing him to form Motorhead.
You know, I kind of want to tell that story to my kid because, like, right now he's a little upset. He just got kicked out of School of Rock for cursing.
Oh no.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all right. It is what it is. I got kicked out too. It's fine. But one of the things that's there is like I want to tell that story, but I also don't want to glorify the fact that he was doing speed. So you find out the stories you can and cannot tell your children.
Well, and when you do finally get to tell that story, you can point out that he always joked that he got kicked out for doing the wrong kind of drugs because they were all doing hallucinogens and smoking more weed than will ever be legal. So he was doing drugs too, but the wrong kind.
Yeah, the wrong kind. It's like, oh, everyone's all stoned. They're like, there's a drug addict over there.
Yeah. Well, it's Metallica kicking out Dave, or it's like, you're drunk.
Yeah.
Boys, really?
For real, guys.
Or, I wasn't in that room. Maybe he was real super drunk. I don't know. I can't say.
I wasn't there, but I definitely heard about it, and it was fun.
Yep.
So here you are. You're now in this new space rock type of project that you've got going on. What was it like to the evolution of that, and how does that transition to like where are we in the Dustin timeline?
So this is still fairly early, and one of the things that band was really good for was it was very improvisational, and I started getting a feel, still early days of it, of hearing a sound in my head and trying to make it come out of the guitar or the sax, whatever I was playing at that time. For that, it was Barry sax, the big one, and guitar back and forth. That band kind of broke up. We had some friction with, again, it was that tenor player from Inspector 7. He was the main singer. And it was like substance issues. He was going through a lot. So we kind of broke up, but the four remaining members formed a new band called Mono Distorto. That kind of retained a lot of the feel, but became even more improvisatory. We do one or two cover songs, like we did A-Hole by Dennis Leary.
Nice. Good cover.
Which is
cover.
our only listened to song on SoundCloud. We have a bunch of other stuff up. That one's got like a couple hundred listens, and everything else is like 4, and people are like, what is this? So in our defense, most of that music was up on MySpace.
Yes.
Well, and got lost in the great MySpace purge of whatever year that was.
I miss MySpace. I miss MySpace.
So as part of that rotating around Manhattan, my then wife at the time and I moved to Long Island to be closer to her family as we were starting to consider starting a family. And
wait a second, you're from Long Island as well?
No. She's from Long Island.
I know, but you've spent time in Long Island and you live there, so you're from Long Island as well.
I put my time in Limerick.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah,
this is for so many different parallels. One of your first thing is because you wanted to Zoot. I was actually in a fake band in high school called Zoot and Dr. Teeth. It was just me and a guitar player.
That's awesome.
So many interesting parallels. I love it. All right. Sorry.
So unfortunately, but I know in hindsight there were a couple bands on Long Island, but I couldn't find them. Just stopped playing. All the horns were basically in storage down in the basement. I play guitar occasionally, not even a lot of that. Like it just stopped. I was trying. I had, as part of all of that evolution, I had spent a couple years working at Sony Music Studios after college.
Right.
I always tell the joke that I made the mistake of graduating in 1999 with a degree in music industry just in time for MP3s and high-speed internet to burn the whole thing down.
To the ground.
And I had forgotten to get a job right out of college, so I ended up selling toys at Walmart, which everyone's always like, be nice to the workers at Walmart. I'm like, you got to be super nice. I used to be one. Like, they're doing what they can.
They're
Trust me.
doing what they can. Just they're trying to hold it together for you.
Yeah.
I used to be Borders, so I understand.
There you go.
You know.
But so I ended up at Sony Music Studios on the audio engineer track, which meant spending what ended up being 3.5 years working out of what was called the mic locker, which is where the general assistants dwelled. We
Right.
had all the outboard equipment. Basically, it was expected that we were going to read and memorize the manual for everything so that if and when a visiting engineer needed anything, we could go assist them. And the goal would have been to become an assistant engineer, but they already had 2 on staff, and any new spots were going to be hard to get.
Right.
By the end of my time there, I was the manager of the mic locker, but they were in like a hiring and promotion freeze because they were struggling to pay bills. At one point, they had the entire studio hired out to Rockefeller Records,
Right.
but no bills were being paid. So I ended up leaving. I met a friend of mine who I've known since second grade, but we went to college together. Another saxophone player, music industry major at Syracuse, was working at a high school in Manhattan. Who's like, "Hey, I'm hiring for a network assistant." And parallel to all of this, I've been in computers since DOS 3.1
Right.
and, the first iterations of Windows, and was actually fairly computer savvy. So with his help, I was able to get that job. I got out of audio, unfortunately, but 3.5 years in, I was still a per diem, which meant I'd literally be called in each day if they had work. There were no benefits. There was no guaranteed hours. Like it was temp labor for 3.5 years. Learned a lot, and I probably wouldn't trade it in. I'm very against that style of labor and employment, though. That was crap, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's like back in the day when tattoo artists, when you had to apprentice and you were, working for tips and weren't allowed to deal with customers yet.
Right.
It was a side, you're working for tips, but also you got to go pay for this coffee that you don't have the money for. So you're out of the corner asking for change so that you can get the coffee for your boss so you can draw the tattoo, And I'm saying this knowing the industry just from being a patron of the industry, not from being someone that's inside the industry itself. And I've seen it so well. So you were out in LI around 2000.
It's so put it this way: we moved up here and started moving up here in 2011. Okay. So we were on the island, 2004 to 2011, I think. Maybe it was a little less. I don't know. I don't keep good track of this stuff. I always joke.
I'm really shocked that like our paths haven't crossed before, because you're the perfect candidate for SIE. I'll tell you more about SIE off the air because I can't actually say the full name. But it was an improvisational, but also cover band type of thing where, you get like there were some shows where you'd show up and you get handed a set list and it'd be like all the titles of the songs and the key. And you had to come up, and me being a singer, I had to come up with the words and the melody and all that and hope. I learned a lot of great mic control techniques because if they shifted to the key behind me, I was like, nope. And I'm going to finish my sentence over here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The type of situation. So you would have been perfect SIE material, and it would have been interesting. That's actually where easy comes from.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
So on Long Island, music basically ground to a halt. Oh, the reason I started thinking about that is I did have down in the basement sort of like a little home Pro Tools setup, and literally never did anything with it. But that was the start of what I titled Scoutcraft Studios, so named because it was going to be a recording studio and a microbrewery and all this stuff. As of right now, it's literally it's not even a web domain. The domain's under my name, but it's a part of that. Like, I'll do web design and stuff. Will I? No one's asked yet. Have I forgotten how to do most of it? Probably. Did most of those skills date back to making my MySpace profile awesome? Yes.
Yes.
So when we were on Long Island, I was working in the city, and we had my older daughter at that point, and I would go an entire week without seeing her. As part of the commute meant I was out of the house at 5:30 in the morning, and I wasn't getting back home until after 8. So I was out before she woke up, and I was home after she went to bed. Like if she had a rough night and was up, I might see her, but then
Right.
no one. That's not optimal.
No.
It's not ideal. So we had a friend of my ex-wife's who she went to college with lives up here. And at this point, I'm working at a high school. I'm their Razor's Edge database administrator. So it's
Right.
all fundraising and donations and handling the back end of that. She was hiring for that exact same position at Neighborhood Music School in New
Oh,
Haven.
okay.
So I said, that sounds interesting. And kind of looked around like, hey, even if you're commuting, it's going to be like a half-hour commute at worst, like maybe an hour if you're like way out in the boonies. I was
Right.
like, that's wouldn't even get me in the city back in the day, much less all the subways across the park. Like the buses, like I was like, this could be doable. And it was a nice little pay bump. So I ended up moving up here, and I think I'd been working at NMS for a couple months when we were doing an event, and I got a tap on the back, and I'm helping it because it's a fundraising event. I'm there running around, and because of my background, I'm like running audio and cables and
Right.
stuff on the fly. Oh, we forgot to set this up. I got it. I can do it. Got a tap on the back, and it was one of the guitar teachers there played in a swing band
Mm.
called Tuxedo Junction. And he said, "Hey, you play saxophone, right?" I said, "I do." And he said, "Do you want to come out tomorrow night to sit in?" I haven't really played in years at this point.
Hmm.
I was like, okay. If there's dots, I can read the dots. Give me the music. I'll see what I can
Yeah.
do.
Right.
I was rusty. I think the funniest part of that night. So the tenor case I had at the time. So you've got where this horn sits, and you've got your little compartment for all your crap, your mouthpiece, your strap, your reeds, all that stuff.
Your
So in the
papers.
years that this case had been trucked around and moved and turned this way and turned that way and left in the basement for years, I hadn't really opened it. I before heading out to where they were rehearsing out in Westbrook, I'd opened the case, made sure everything was in there, and closed it again real fast. Drove out there, sat down, went to go play, and heard a rattle, and went, "Oh, something's in the bell," and tilted it. And that stereotypical woman dumping out her purse.
Yes.
A lifetime supply of tenor sax crap came raining out onto the floor. And I was
Oh no.
like, and we're back.
Oh no.
Yes, we're back on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and Mr. Easy Blues, Dustin Kriedler.
Got it.
Hey!
Yeah.
Is with us on the show, and it's good having a talk between two Dustins on this program. It feels like you guys are brothers. It feels like there's like a cloth, and you guys are opposite ends of this cloth, and I'm happy being a fly on the wall for this conversation. It's very, very, very entertaining hearing both of you. I just want to mention that. But continue with your story.
Well, it's been so super interesting because there's so many parallels, and we don't
Right,
realize
yeah.
like all these different parallels that go through. So and I love hearing this story. So yeah, so you made it out there. You dumped everything out on the floor. You're now fully
Put it all back
exposed.
up, horrified and embarrassed.
Yeah.
Got through that night. It was playing second tenor, which is my first time ever playing that book. And in a swing band, the lead alto has the melody. The bari sax, which is what through high school and college is what I played in big bands, either doubles the melody or has something that makes sense in terms of the chord progression. Second tenor and second alto have all the weird color tones. So if you only play those parts, you're playing this like atonal 12-tone jazz
Right.
that makes sense with everything else, but by itself is weird. So I'm like, I don't know where these lines are going to go. I don't know what I'm doing, but I made it through. I could read the dots. The next week they needed someone to cover second alto. I did that. And then the third week they were like, "Oh, hey, our bari player just left. Do you want to join the band?"
That's awesome.
I was like, on the horn, I'm actually really good at. Like they all play more or less the same, but the smaller the horn, the tighter, the stronger the embouchure you need to have.
Right.
Barry, I could play forever if it wasn't a problem. So I ended up with them. Was with them through this past fall, I think. Because I was over a decade with them. And honestly, I'm trying to remember what my real introduction to the New Haven scene proper was.
Is there really an introduction? Because people
There
just
is. There is. Because whether you're going to all the open mics that are on Crown Street, or whether you're going to Stella Blues, or you're stumbled into Cafe 9 or anything like that, you're stumbling into a piece of actual New Haven history and New Haven music history. So you are, no matter what, coming into the scene, being introduced into the scene. And although I spent time and met people while I was doing the open mic circuit, I really wasn't introduced into the scene until my first year doing Rock Lottery. And I got off stage, and Bill Saunders comes running up to me, throws his arms around me, and goes, "Where the have you been? Or where did you come from?"
Right.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, buddy." I was like, "I'm a different animal. I apologize."
So the introduction is an initiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I want to say the first thing I did up here, and to anyone listening who I forgot the stuff, I'm sorry. The first one that sticks out is I was in this like hornline band, like Dirty Dozen brass band style.
Okay.
Just a crap ton of horns, drums, bass, guitar. And we played at Lyric Hall, and then we played at Cafe 9. I think that was my intro to Cafe 9. It was like, oh, I like it here.
Yeah.
This place is awesome. At some point, I got roped into a PTA fundraiser band where I learned that Hamden is stacked with musical talent.
Yes.
There's one of those bands where it's like everyone's like, I was like, I'm just happy to be in the room. There is so much talent in this room. And we played up at it's one of the country clubs up by Ridge. Is it Ridge Top? Is it that other one? I don't remember where it was. But it was a fundraiser night, and it was amazing, and just all sorts of like 80s, 90s hits. I played 2 different saxes and I think 2 different guitars that night. I sang a B-52 song, because apparently when my voice is in fine fettle, I can do a pretty solid Fred Schneider, which was a discovery for all of us. We did Love Shack. I was like, I can mimic him really well. That's odd.
You're like, mental note.
And then in the wake of that, I had friends, David and Val, who were like, you should do the Rock Lottery.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept telling me about it, and they had been in it. I think they had won it maybe the year prior, maybe it was a couple years prior. I'm not sure how long it was. But they're like, you should do it. Just go in the other category, like not necessarily guitar, not necessarily, just other. So I did, and kind of riding on the whole, like the lessons learned from CBR and Mono Distorto of just get up and play.
Right. Exactly.
The worst case scenario is it's a bad performance.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
There's worse.
Word.
And then realizing at some point in all of that, like, you know what, 99% of it is just being brave enough to get up on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're on stage, you can have a bad performance, but like you're already over the bigger hurdle. So it's like, all right, I will try this out. I will see what it is. And I met Bill, I met Nancy. I was there that night for the pick. Met most of my band that night. That was my first year. We were in the band was Abandon IN Town.
Yes.
And I have such a clear memory like that. That is one of my favorite performances. Was our first week performance in that Rock Lottery. Was that 2018, 2019, maybe? I forget what year it would have been.
I think it was 2018 because 2019 was the one that I wound up doing, because I took a year off. I did the year before that, the one that the documentary is filmed off of.
Right.
So I got to do that one, which was insane, and then the documentary was insane to do. All that. Shout out to Haley Copes. One of these days we got to get her on the show. Although I do feel like that would have to be an uncensored show to have Haley on it. I'm just being real.
If I'm managing to keep it clean, anyone can.
No, sir. Sir, I've had conversations. You know,
I don't think I'm ready for those conversations.
If you don't know, now you know, sir. Hey, you want to know? You want to in how incredible New Haven truly is, and how incredible the Rock Lottery is. One of the most amazing moments of my entire existence happened at a Rock Lottery performance, sitting outside Cafe 9, standing next to other Dustin. And this guy just comes up to us, and he's the sweetest guy ever. And he just, all he does is follow Rock Lottery. Like, he just shows up for those performances, and he's just coming into himself and just coming into his existence. And he looks at both of us. He goes, are you guys on Grindr? Would you consider being on Grindr for 24 hours? And we're both like, we appreciate the compliment, but no, thank you.
Yep.
That was the best. We're like, we're Sparkle Straits, but no, we're good. Thank you.
But if you want to get up to something, I will be your ally.
Word. I got you. I totally down. But
there you
like,
go.
Let's go do.
There you go. Yes.
So that band was great. Just the song that was with Kelly Cancier, Anthony Apuzzo on bass. I'm gonna blank. Oh, Ryan McDonald singing, and Ian Applegate on drums, and then me on other, which meant guitar and saxes and stuff. And I just have this clear memory. I think we were second or third week one, so other bands had played. It was the second night, and we realized the first night we're there chilling out, and we realized we misread the brief on one of the requirements. For people who don't know, you join Rock Lottery, you get told you need to write a theme song for your band. That year it was you need to write a song about the people who died in a given year, and you pull that year out of a hat. Ours was it had to be 2019 because our year was 2018.
Okay, there you go.
You had to do a song where everyone soloed, and you had to do a mashup. And for our death song, we had this long medley of covers, and we were just going to go one into the next. Some of them overlap, so we had Aretha Franklin and Pantera's Respect at the same time, and all the stuff going on.
Wow.
But we realized that the night before we were going to play, the brief was write an original song.
Oh, burr.
So I don't even remember what band was on stage, where I'm literally on my phone writing lyrics.
Yeah.
And we get there the next night, and they're like, well, you got to sing them because no one else is going to remember them. I was like, I'm not either. So if you go back and watch the video, that song starts, and I have my phone up, and I'm singing. Yep. We made the brief. But it was one of those experiences where it all came so organically. Like, our mashup was Linda Ronstadt and Cream. I think it was like Heart Like a Wheel of Fire. It was like the two albums, and I will still go back and watch that recording every now and then. Just like, how did we do that in 3 weeks? It's impossible.
I feel the same way about the first performance of the Chess Rockwells. In 3 weeks' time, we did all this incredible stuff. We got to meet John and learn how to click really with another person, in the aspect of it. And we wrote our mashup was something from where it's not an easy fix. We actually had to think about it for a hot second. We're like, okay, we had Green Day and Al Green. So we had to do, so we put She and Let's Stay Together.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, but we played the verse of She. No, the verse of Let's Stay Together, and then the chorus of She. We made that into a song, but I was singing over the She part. I was singing Let's Stay Together, and over the other part I was singing She.
Right.
So, over the verse, I was singing She. So, instead of Let's Stay Together, I'd be like, She screams in silence, and so much more fun, but also one of the most difficult things that you had to do. And I wish I could find that performance somewhere.
It depends on the year. Like, I know, like, for 2018, I realized way belatedly that Christoph had recorded every single performance.
Oh, awesome.
So he's got a playlist on YouTube of that. I don't know if that exists for all the other years too, but
nice.
So I was going to say, my clearest memory of that Rock Lottery was getting set up. and I was coming in as, that was the year I got introduced to the Sarah Dunns and the Zach,
Anderson.
no, Holbrook, Zach. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name offhand. But those of us like me who we play everything, and if we get the opportunity, we're going to drag it all up on stage.
Yes.
So I'm setting up my electric guitar, I'm setting up my banjo, I'm setting up my bari sax, I'm setting up my tenor sax, making sure I've got the vocal mic set up. And we're losing the crowd because one of the judges, Leroy, is literally standing on his chair going, "The waiting is the hardest part." I was like, oh God,
Oh, no.
I've pissed off a judge. And he's handling it well, but I've annoyed him by how long this is taking to set up. So we got through it. It was honestly one of the better performances I can remember in my entire life. It was so much fun. It was so much work trying to remember everything that was coming and going. Panicking about that quickly tacked on bit of the Dead song.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the end and Leroy stands up and goes, "I can honestly say the wait was worth it." And that was like the first full breath I was able to take in like 20 minutes. I was like, I don't care what happens next. You can tell me you hated us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we made it to the finals. And I can't speak for the rest of the band. I can only speak for myself. Those first 3 weeks killed me. I went limping into the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yo,
I had no more juice. Like,
Yeah.
Kelly had written some really great songs. We had some good stuff. But I would say every other band that night was amazing. And we were kind of like, I was going through the motions. It was so like, oh my God. Rock Lottery is something else.
It's we had about it with SIE too. It's boot camp for musicians. It's a real kind of like testing what you need to do. And I remember both years that I participated, I made it to the finals both times. I was robbed one year, and the other year I was just beat up. I was so beat up going into the thing. I was like, I just want this all to be over. This is just let it end. Put me out of my misery, especially since it was the most bizarre way to get over is, we had a band without a drummer. So we actually had somebody playing percussion in the other instruments aspect of it. He couldn't come in and play drums, but he could play percussion on the. So we're like, all right. I was like, okay, we're not a band, we're a cult now. And they're like, what? I was like, that's it. We'll just play up like we're a cult, and we'll have all this weird worshipy type music. It'll be fantastic. They're like, you're out of your mind. I was like, yes. I was like, and we're called the Bomb Pop, so we're gonna be an ice cream man cult. This is amazing. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and that's what we need to go with. And they're like, yeah, that works. Let's go there. I was like, okay.
I was there for that week one performance for you guys. You guys were, I think I missed finals that year. Going, I think I did it that year. Details fall out of my head now. But I remember seeing your guys week one, and the ice cream cult was one of the better things I'd ever seen because it was so random. It was one of those, like, I love those ideas where I'm like, I would never have thought of that.
Right.
That's insane. That's crazy. I love it.
And that was the same year that we did in the finals, where apparently there's one moment in time where Robert Zott, I believe, says it glorifies what Rock Lottery was, is when we did a version of Cante per ti amo, but as part of Rock Lottery.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, because why not? Because you only live once.
Exactly.
So
I ended up doing Rock Lottery 2 more times, once with Pollyanna Perspective, and that band was solid. And then once the last one, I think 2 years ago, was with Thread Count. Again, just super solid bands. I actually felt bad with the Thread Count one, though, because I was so double booked. One of the other things I do occasionally is I work at Quinnipiac University with their theater program, which I think is now retired. But I was doing sound design and audio engineering. Like, they had another sound designer. I was the one who'd go in and actually make it happen. And the year I played with Thread Count, I could not rehearse with them the first 2 weeks. Only
Oh,
3 weeks. So
Lord.
I showed up. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, just show me what we're playing. Whatever you guys wrote, I trust you. Let's go. I'm just
yeah.
going to try and add some seasoning to what you already did. I felt horrible about that. Like, we did great. It was fun. But having to split attention that badly and leaving them hanging. So this past year, I didn't do it. I was like, I don't know if I can. I had a lot of other stuff going on at that point. I was like, I felt bad for me, but I felt worse for them.
Right.
That's just a hard load to carry. Um, but coming out of that, so when you do Rock Lottery, you meet 70 to 100 local musicians,
I was going to get to the networking. Yeah.
Yeah.
and it is the most supportive because
Oh,
everyone
God.
knows the deal. You get up on stage, you could bomb in Rock Lottery, and everyone's like, they only had 3 weeks. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone knows the brief. Like
Yo,
This
that's
there's
is an
crazy.
impossible task, period.
yeah,
The fact
That's
that you have
crazy.
the intestinal fortitude to move forward is
Yeah.
just it's ridiculous. And yeah, it's crazy and it's insane and nobody gets paid and you actually go out of pocket because you make merch for it and you do the whole 9 yards and it's the dumbest thing you're ever gonna do. But if you don't do it, are you truly alive?
right.
You know what I mean?
I don't think it's dumb.
Oh
I don't
no, it
think
is.
it's dumb at all.
Oh no, it is.
I don't think it's
It is.
incredibly dumb.
Because you do it for bragging rights. You literally do it for bragging rights. And and you don't even brag about it. Because no one's like, haha, we did it, sucker. No, everyone's like, we did it, we got to the end. That's all that matters. All that matters is we got to the end. That's it.
I think
don't care.
spiritually, just from what I'm hearing from both of you, it's a very healthy competitive thing you're doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like again, even the year I made to the finals, where I wasn't sitting there all upset that we didn't have a good night.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there going, these 3 other bands are fantastic.
Yeah.
The only way I'm going to be upset right now is if you be like, oh, we actually liked you guys best. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I like them better.
There's no way. I saw our act, bro. I was up there. I know what happened.
WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. My apologies, Dustin, Preston, and not Dustin, but Easy Blues, right here on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Dustin Kriedler is with us, and I'm enjoying this conversation, man. I really am. Continue, and I'm very sorry.
No worries.
No worries.
So the networking is also one of the biggest things. So I'm in a couple bands right now, and I'm looking over the list because I actually can never remember all of them at the same time. Every time I'm like, oh, I can always do like 2 out of 3. Never mind the ones that are like, maybe it'll happen next year too, like the stuff that happens once a year. But so one of the main bands I'm in right now is called Fuselage, spelled with a J if you're ever looking for us. And it's a surf cumbia ska collective. There's 8 of us, 3 percussionists trying to take all these genres and take all the best parts of them and mash them together. But that came around because I ended up playing a gig with Renegade Lounge out at Scottish Dave's in Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
If Cafe 9 is the musician's living room, Scottish Dave's is the musician's pub. I cannot recommend them highly enough. I love that place.
No, he's Scottish Dave's just such an incredible human being. Can't wait to be back there. Actually, I think because we're going to be doing 2 releases for the album. One out here, either at the Cellar or at 9. And then we'd rather the Cellar just because of the food.
Right. Huggy Bear.
I need my Huggy Bear. I know it's not the same as it was before, and I need to adjust my expectations. All right, I got you. No worries. I'm being realistic. But the other one is we want to do it out at Scottish Dave's because it's just such an incredible vibe. I've played that venue so many times, and every time you play there, you just feel like you're home.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so good.
You'd have a ball. You'd be loaded. No, dude, I've been out with you, man, and I know what you can put away. And at this place, you would put it away solid.
But one thing I have to do, which is unfortunate, I'd have to end this.
Are we there?
Yeah, we're there, man. Dustin, these last couple minutes are. I want to have you again.
All right,
I want to have
we'll
you
do part
again,
two.
like anytime part two, because I feel you have a
Yeah.
lot to bring to the table. I feel you have a lot of knowledge. These stories have been amazing. These exceeded my expectations, which I'm really happy about.
Fair.
But just we always like to close this off with our guests, like anything promotional wise, what you're doing, just like for your company, go right ahead. Even for your bands as well, and also
Uh,
just give a little bit of advice for anybody who wants to go in a similar path as yours. So this last amount of time goes to you. Go right ahead.
Similar path, get up and do it. Again, 99% of it is just getting up on stage. You want to learn an instrument, start learning. It's never too late. There's people out there who practiced more than I did in high school. There's high schoolers who can play better than me. That's fine. Get up on stage and play.
Right.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got recently, unfortunately, I could have heard this 30 years ago and it would have been great. It doesn't matter if someone else comes along and does it better. The Wright brothers made the crappiest airplane ever made.
Word.
You'll remember the Wright brothers. Get out there and do it. Go do the thing. Coming gigs, there's a bunch. I'm going to run these down. Fuselage, Ska Cumbia Surf at 33 Golden in New London on March 14th. Hub City Stompers is coming through Cherry Street in Wallingford on March 15th. I'm hopefully going to be sitting with them for that. March 22nd, Sergeant Skag will be at Scottish Dave's in Clinton. I'll be playing with them. April 7th, Sergeant Skag will be at the Space with Big D and the Kids Table. That one's probably sold out, but if you're interested in old school Boston ska and you see more tickets come, grab them. I'll be playing at This Is Not Croydon Fest in Pennsylvania, April 25th and 27th. Sergeant Skag on that Friday, no tickets needed. And Hub City Stompers on that Sunday. You do need tickets. They're supposedly sold out, but I think they just released another 100. And then May 9th, I'll be playing with Sergeant Skag at Otto's Shrunken Head in New York City. And then the other band I'm in, Faculty Lounge, we're looking to start booking in as we get into the spring. And I play guitar with them, and that's all rock and classics and originals.
Nice.
But get out there and do the thing.
Absolutely.
Do it well, do it terribly. Just get out there and do it.
We appreciate you, man. We really do. It's been really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No doubt. WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. This has been a successful Dustin show. I love it. Let's go on Preston Easy Blues. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just this